I'm in Arizona, somewhere outside of Tucson, at an event put together by DCG to collect many of the founders of cryptocurrency companies. So DCG is one of the major investors in the industry, and they've invested in, I think it's fair to say, most of the cryptocurrency companies, certainly as many as anyone. And my company raised money from DCG back in 2016. So this is actually, so they do these every year, and I've been to four of them so far. So things have changed a lot over the years, because way back then in 2016, everyone was like Bitcoin was so much bigger than everything else, that everything else was just sort of irrelevant. And it's a completely different situation now, where Bitcoin, or I should say BTC, is the one that's basically irrelevant and no one uses it for anything. And all of the applications and businesses building on this technology are using something else. And I would say that based on this event, the popular ones are Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, and Stellar, although I don't necessarily think that's representative. That's just who I happened to talk to while I was here at the event. Um, but what I want to talk about in this video is just, what do other businesses in the industry think about Bitcoin SV? Because starting basically after the last split between BSV and BCH last November, I got a bit fed up with the cryptocurrency industry and basically stopped engaging with anything outside of Bitcoin SV or my business. So we're basically only focused on our customers and users and things like this, and just not at all, even investigating or worrying about the rest of the cryptocurrency industry. So I didn't really know what people were thinking, and so I thought of this as an interesting opportunity to just talk with people and see what they think. So in a nutshell, so this is the event's now over. This is the day after, so I'm just reflecting on the last 2 days and my conversations with people. And so what do other founders in the industry think about Bitcoin SV? I think they fall into basically three categories. So first of all, you have a lot of people that that are basically just entrepreneurs trying to use this technology for something, and they really just don't care about the ideology at all. And it's really interesting. The newer they are, the less likely they are to care whatsoever about any of this drama that occurred in previous years with respect to the block size and all this stuff. So those people are very easy to talk to, because they're just immediately open, and I explain to them what we're doing with Bitcoin SV, and they understand. And then, just for the sake of anybody watching this video, like, what are we doing with Bitcoin SV? Let me just go into that first real quickly for context. So what Bitcoin SV is, it's the original Bitcoin protocol, full stop. Or at least it's not quite there yet, but we're fully restoring the original protocol next year. This includes an uncapped block size, and this means we can do very, very large blocks. Bitcoin is fundamentally an economic system. It is not simply a solution to a computer science problem. It's an economic system, and what this means is you can create businesses that build infrastructure. Every problem with Bitcoin can be solved with Bitcoin. If you create businesses that solve problems, you can charge money for your solutions. The original protocol scales globally. So the fundamental reason why the original Bitcoin protocol scaled was because you can validate transactions in parallel. So there never was a scaling problem with Bitcoin. All you do is allow it to scale. It's the same way that the internet scales, basically. Businesses need to build infrastructure. You have to write software and build hardware to scale it. But there's no fundamental theoretical problem. I mean, or maybe there is with the internet in the case of limited IP address space, but in the case of Bitcoin, there actually isn't any fundamental theoretical problem preventing us from scaling it. What there was actually ideology. A lot of people did not want to raise the maximum block size. That's really what it was. And so they wanted everyone to run a node, and they wanted everybody, they think that decentralized means that everyone's equal and everybody runs a node on their computer, which some of us think is just an absurd, unrealistic expectation that's driven by literally crazy ideology. I think they're crazy, and I think that they're also, it's a combination of crazy, dumb, and smart, but smart in a particular direction where they are completely clueless outside of the area in which they're smart. So it's all sorts of issues. In any case, whatever it is, the ideas make no sense. You can't do small blocks. Big blocks is workable. Another property I would say that sort of shows up here at this conversation, or sorry, at this event, I don't have time in this video, but I could sketch out for you basically every problem people are solving with in the blockchain industry are best solved with one global public blockchain with big blocks. And I already know how to solve all of the basic problems. So everything with related to things like identity. We're already doing this with Paymail, for instance. We're solving many of these problems right now with Paymail and MoneyButton and all this stuff. Things like data custodianship. We're solving this also with MoneyButton with Paymail. So the ability to encrypt data on chain and stuff like this, sign data on chain. We're doing all these things. So what we're doing with Bitcoin SV is the original Bitcoin protocol, and the reason why we're doing this is because it is better than all of the other ones. Blockchains like Ethereum unintentionally regressed on Bitcoin. So they didn't realize what they were doing. They did not actually understand the original Bitcoin because Satoshi didn't explain it to everyone. Satoshi just left in 2010, stopped talking with people, and didn't finish explaining what Bitcoin is and how it works to people. And it was taken over by people that did not understand what it was. Those are the BTC people. And then other people came along and basically found they could not make progress with BTC, and so they had to go off and do their own thing, and that includes Ethereum. So Ethereum unintentionally regressed on Bitcoin. The biggest problem with Ethereum is that because of the way the state model works in Ethereum, it's very difficult to parallelize Ethereum. Ethereum, the miners have to validate all the transactions in the same order as each other because otherwise the state might be different. So that means effectively everything has to be done in serial. That's a giant intrinsic bottleneck to the nature of Ethereum. I mean, it just was poorly designed originally. They didn't understand that Bitcoin was already parallelized. And because of this block size drama, and you have these crazy cult members preventing Bitcoin from scaling, people didn't realize that the protocol itself was actually originally designed in a scalable way. And no one was there to defend it because Satoshi just wasn't there talking with anyone. So it took years and other people to get involved in all this stuff to finally restore this idea of the original Bitcoin. So the difference between, the difference that matters anyway with respect to scalability between Ethereum and Bitcoin is that Bitcoin with the UTXO model allows you to validate transactions in parallel. You don't have to do all transactions in the same order. I mean, you have to do transactions in the same graph together, but if they're on separate graphs, you don't have to do them in the same order because there's no possibility of modifying a shared state. So you can do basically everything completely in parallel. So this is a fundamental difference. This is why you can sync a Bitcoin SV node, in less than a day, and why it takes forever and is basically impossible to sync an Ethereum node, because in Ethereum you have to validate everything in series. So anyway, that's just Ethereum, and of course I don't have time to go into all the other ones and all this stuff. But the point here is that the reason why we're doing the original Bitcoin protocol is because it works and it is better than all of the other ones. That all of the other ones did not understand Bitcoin originally, and all of them regressed and made something worse than the original protocol. Every blockchain related problem is best solved with one global public blockchain, and it was fully solved at a protocol level with the original Bitcoin protocol. So that's what we're doing here. So anyway, coming back to this idea of what are the different people here involved in this at this conference. So you have the people that are open-minded about this stuff. They're just not ideological, fortunately, because they're just entrepreneurs and they're trying to do a business. These are the smart people. So these people are very easy to pitch, basically. As soon as they're willing to listen to me, I just tell them these things like, oh yeah, everything you're saying makes sense. And then I can sketch out, for their business or something like this, how we can solve their problem. So all these people are agreeable. You have a different set of people, though, that are a bit older, that are also not very ideological, but they've got these walls around them where they don't want to listen. And I know why they don't want to listen, because they have been attacked by these troll social media people that are just the scum of the internet, basically, who just stir up trouble continuously, and they have to build a wall because they know that they just don't have time to listen to that crap. And so the wall is still there. So this is kind of to their own detriment. I won't name any names or anything like this. And this everything at this event is supposed to be secret, so I'm going to keep everything extremely vague and high level. I can't mention any specifics, but there are several people here who clearly have a wall there where they don't want to listen. But they're not actually that ideological, which I find interesting. Basically, I'm pretty sure, as we continue to grow, what will happen is they will notice us, and then they will take us seriously. So fortunately, between these two groups of people, this seems to be most people in the cryptocurrency industry. Either they're just already open-minded and listening if only they got this information, and the other people that have a wall, but they'll notice us as soon as we outgrow them, which we will, and we're rapidly doing right now. The final set of people, though, are the ideologues who hate me. And there's one person here who I of course I can't name, but there is at least one person here who clearly hates me, and who is an ideologue and who is not open-minded, and they don't listen to any of the arguments, and it's just an emotion-fueled rage, for them. So anyway, you do have people like that. Most of those people are not at this event, though. So there's with this one person aside and maybe a couple others, those BTC extremists. And it's interesting. I had this conversation with enough people now. It's like everyone noticed this. Those people have some issues, and I think they're just plainly a cult. Their ideas make no sense at all. No sense. I mean, it's literally like a cult in the sense they got their own jargon and all this stuff, and so it sounds like superficially plausible. You get into like this shit makes no sense at all. What you're saying is just you guys believe this. This makes no sense. It's a cult, and you're either in or you're out, and you're like you either believe their ridiculous falsehoods or you're the enemy of them, and they created an internet cult. So anyway, those people by and large are not here. I think they've ostracized themselves out of the community. I'll just go ahead and say the name of this particular company I'm basically referring to is basically Blockstream. They are Blockstream, and then various people and other entities related to Blockstream, even amongst people that like BTC, are so extreme. They've just booted themselves out of any type of reasonable discourse about anything because they're just so unreasonable and culty that they've ostracized themselves. Okay, so anyway, so in a nutshell, the perspective is one of openness, and so the open people, of course, are the best. What this means is you can easily pitch these people. I mean, what they're doing is they're reading Twitter, and they just have no idea what's going on, and they're just completely. The reason why it matters that they're reading Twitter is because Twitter has just fake information on it, so they just have no idea what they're talking about. So, but they're open-minded, they're entrepreneurs, and so as soon as you have an opportunity to pitch them, they're agreeable. Just explain to them reasonably what we're doing with large blocks and the original protocol and why it's better than the other ones. And they're just totally open-minded about this. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get some of these people to actually adopt it in one respect or another soon. And then the other people with the wall, the people that aren't listening now, all that's going to happen is we're just going to grow big enough and they will listen when that happens. And I can't name names or anything like that, but I'll say that there are prominent people who I'm confident that as soon as we grow big enough, and this will probably be within the next year, these people will change their minds and they're going to take it seriously because they're going to realize that they're going to be forced to look at us and be like, oh, wait a second, what these people were saying made sense this entire time. The final people, the culty people, will never change their mind, and they're just going to, they'll kill themselves. I mean, like one way or the other. I mean, that's what they're doing right now. They've got this absurd nonsense position. They're just eliminating themselves. And I think some of these people will probably literally kill themselves. And I hate to say that, but like literally when their chain dies, their entire world is going to collapse and they have no understanding of what's going on in the real world. And they're going to be forced to recognize that they were a cult member, that they were a silly internet cult member. All right, then. I mean, I don't know. Anybody that knows anything that I did during this whole thing, I did everything I possibly could have done to prevent all this stuff, and nothing I did was effective. Oh, well. They did it to themselves. So anyway, that's it. I think so. The overall view is optimistic, and I think that it's one of, look, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. I connected with a bunch of companies here, so we're going to be able to meet up with some of these people, including some people in Argentina. That'll be cool. Make some connections there, and so we'll just keep building our business, and I encourage everybody else to involve in Bitcoin SV to, I think, just be reasonable, and it's find these people that are just open-minded and agreeable, and when you pitch them well, they completely get it and they understand that why we're doing works and why it's better. And I think we'll be able to convince these people to use our technology or to switch or whatever. So it's overall quite optimistic. So let's just keep doing our thing, and I think by next year we're going to be a lot bigger. All right, thank you very much for listening.